Hello there, welcome back, and here I am again after a very long time. Boy seems to be ashamed of letting me come out. I don't know, he's awful funny about it. I guess maybe it's the dress and everything. He just tends to get a little bit uncomfortable when I'm out fully or when Miss Mimi's out. I suppose I can't blame him. It's the way he was raised and the times he was raised in. But, I don't make no never mind to that. This helps me feel a little bit more by myself and, well, look a little bit more like myself too, like I said my last time. Now then, what have we got for y'all today? I'll tell you what we have. It's a lovely carrot cake. I figured last time I did the carrot chowder for y'all, so we might as well do a carrot cake to round out the carrots here. So next time around we'll do something different, but I did have a whole mess of carrots that I needed to get rid of. So, well, here we are. All right now, so for this here carrot cake, I'm just going to go and read off the ingredients. Mr. Data and Mr. Chris, they went ahead and, well, they filmed the ingredients separate, so you should be looking at those about right now, and I know they'll go ahead and they'll put it up there on the screen for you. So here we go. This is a carrot cake. You're going to need 1 cup of vegetable oil, 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar, 4 eggs. It's best that you let those warm up anytime that you're baking. Now you got to understand that bacon is not like cooking. Cooking is an art. Baking is a science. So you got to follow the recipe exact. If you tend to mess around with those ingredients, you're going to tend to mess around with your final product. So remember that. Cooking is an art. Baking is a science. So stick to those recipes, all right? So let's see, where were we? 4 eggs. So make sure to bring those up to room temperature. That's important. It's going to help things to rise up properly. Now we have 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 cup pureed carrots. Now, the recipe I'm following called for baby food carrots. I'm not going to have any of that, and there's no baby food that's going to be going into my cake. Now, I know, it's all pure, and they just simply puree them up, and, you're giving it to a baby, so it's going to be safe for an adult, but well, I don't know. There's just something about the idea of putting baby food in your food that just does not agree to me whatsoever. So I went ahead and I made myself some pureed carrots. Just basically take some carrots, shred it up, and then I took and put it in the blender with some pure carrot juice, and voila! Well, there we have 1 cup of pureed carrots. Now, in addition to that, you're also going to need 1 cup. Now, in addition to that, you're going to need 1 cup of shredded carrots as well. And last, 1 cup of chopped walnuts. Now that's all the ingredients for the cake. Now for the frosting, you're going to need 1/2 cup of softened butter or margarine. That's 1 stick for y'all. And you're going to need 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. You can use whatever you like. You notice that we're not showing the brands here because we don't want to be, putting any sponsorship on anything, because we're not. So let's see, 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. Now, I guess you can use that Neufchatel cheese. I can't pronounce that to save my life, huh? But anyway, cream cheese or that Neufchatel cheese will work the same way. 1 teaspoon of, maybe one of y'all will correct me on how to pronounce that thing. I would greatly appreciate that. Not that it's ever liable to come up again, but I'd like to know, just to know. Alright, so 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So we're going to have some vanilla for the cake itself and some vanilla for the frosting as well. Same thing with salt. We'll have 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And last, 4 cups of powdered sugar. Now, I know you're looking at me and you're going, 4 cups of powdered sugar? Oh my God, what are you trying to do? Give me diabetes? Well, it's the way I cook. If you don't like it, you substitute something else. I suppose you could use one of those store-bought frostings for this, but I wouldn't personally recommend it. So, those are all the ingredients. Now let's go ahead, and the process is real easy. We're going to go up and do up the wet and dry ingredients separately. Let's go ahead and start off with the wet. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go and grab ourselves here a great big mixing bowl. I happen to like this one from my mixer. That was actually his grandmama's mixer. Oh, before I forget, first thing we need to do is preheat the oven to 350. So let's go ahead and do that. Come on over there. Now, you don't mind my bare feet. You probably can't see them anyway, but it's almost impossible to get a good pair of pumps the size of this boy's feet, so, I don't mind going barefoot anyway. So, we'll go ahead and turn that on here. Let's see, bake 350. And there we go. That'll warm up nice while we're going ahead and mixing the ingredients. All right, let's see now. First thing we're going to go ahead and do is take the sugar, put that in there. All right, well, we're back now. The camera done did something that Mr. Data ain't never seen before, so unfortunately he missed me putting the sugar and the eggs. Now, I was telling y'all, make sure to bring your eggs up to temperature because that's important. I don't know how much I've missed out of this. I was rambling on for about another good 5 minutes or so before the camera done gave us an error. I needed to change Mr. Data, I needed to, since I'm the one taking over all this, and I'll do it my own damn way. Thank you very much. But I needed to change the camera angle, and that's when we noticed that there was some kind of error going on. So I'm afraid you're just going to have to skip over that part. It's not even going to be there for you. There's the sound of the oven coming to the preheat, so that's all nice and warm for us. Now what we've done is we've taken the 2 cups of the sugar, we've taken 4 eggs, and we've went ahead and mixed those together with the oil, all of our wet ingredients first, but we got one more that we got to do, and that's 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Let me make sure that this thing is still going. Is it going? Yep, looks like it's going. All right, so we're going to give these just a good mix up here real quick, and then we're going to go and add in that vanilla. So we need 1 teaspoon of that. So we'll go ahead and measure that on out. There we go, 1 teaspoon in there. We'll set that off to the side because we're going to need that for the frosting. All right, let's mix that in there real nice and good. All right, that's all nice and smooth now. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and transfer that all into another bowl because we got them. Well, you know what? Actually, we're going to leave that right there. So let's set this off to the side. That's all the wet ingredients. Don't that look nice and yellow? All right. Let's get ourselves another mixing bowl here. That's going to be large enough to deal with all of our dry ingredients, and that's what we're going to do next. You know what? I'm going to change this angle just a little bit so y'all ain't staring at my big ugly feet all the time. Well, maybe not. I don't know. There we go. We're just going to go ahead and go with it. I probably should have painted my toenails. I did do my nails here. I don't know if you can see them or not, but well, actually, our daughter helped, and she got those for me, and I just did a little bit of a top coat on them. So aren't those pretty? I thought I'd dress up a little bit for y'all. All right, now, let's go ahead and get those bowls out the way. Alrighty, so that's our wet ingredients. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to put together our dry ingredients, which is obviously going to be the flour. Get that on out of there. That's for frosting. Now, we need 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I got it in this nice neat little container here. Now, I like this particular style of measuring spoon because it's got this little slide here that you can select exactly how much you want. So, there's our baking soda. And then we got our baking powder. We need a teaspoonful of that as well. That's about right. Alright, so that's the baking soda, the baking powder. Now we're going to go ahead and put in the salt, and we only need a half a teaspoon of that. So we're just going to slide that right on back to about half teaspoon right there where it's marked. What do I do with that salt? There it is. Now I like to use kosher salt. It just tastes a lot better than iodized. But you got to keep in mind that it's got a bit of a rougher texture, so you might want to grind it down a little bit in your mortar and pestle. Alright, there's the salt, half a teaspoon of that. We'll set those aside because we're going to need the salt later on for the frosting. All right, now, let's see, salt. And let's see, we need now, last thing is the cinnamon. And we're gonna need 1 teaspoonful of that. Which I was nice enough to pre-measure, so we can just go ahead and dump that right on in there, because I know that's correct now. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and take and mix them up. I got another spatula just especially for that. So just mix those around, get them all jumbled up together nice. Now I must confess that I haven't tried this exact recipe, so this is going to be a little bit of a surprise for both of us. Hopefully it'll come out nice. I checked it against his grandma's recipe for carrot cake, and it was pretty darn close, so we're going to go ahead and give this one a try. Alright, so there is our dry ingredients all set to go. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take and we're going to mix those together with our wet ingredients that we set over here to the side. Grab that big old spatula. Alright, down in we go. Just take and pour that beautiful lemon yellow on in. Alright, there we go. Set that off to the side. Now, never-ending growing pile of dishes there. Alright, now we're just going to go ahead and mix those up. Now, I thought about using the mixer, but you know what? There's really not much to this. So we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way by hand. Now, because there's no milk, this is going to be a bit of a stiffer batter for you, so it might fight you a little bit more when you're mixing this up. And there we go. Oof. Gonna give me muscles in that right arm, I tell you. Have me looking like Popeye before you know it. Because I'm too damn fat to look like olive oil, that's for sure. It's alright, I don't mind though. People get too hung up nowadays on their weight anyway. As long as you keep it healthy, you don't want to be terribly overweight to where, you know, your heart's working overtime and your blood pressure gets through the roof like the boys did before he finally went to the doctor and got on some blood pressure medication. Yeah, I know, I'm out in all the dirty laundry. Let's give that a quick taste. I think that's going to come out nice. Alright, so we've got the dry and wet ingredients mixed together. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to add in the carrots. We're going to start off with the pureed ones first. Plop that on in there. And the shredded carrots here. Get those in there. Get those mixed in. Starting to look like a carrot cake already. Those pureed carrots just added some moisture in there. Makes it a little bit easier. You can see it's kind of went a little bit more runny. Definitely a lot easier to mix together. That gave it a nice, lovely orange color, didn't it? All right now. There we are. Now, next thing we're going to go ahead and do is add in the last ingredient there, which is going to be the chopped walnuts. Now, I know last time I had you chop these things up with his grandma's chopper, but trying to save a little bit of time, and we'll just pretend that you did it anyway. So, there we go. Our chopped walnuts. Now we're going to go and mix those in. Let's get those mixed in there all thorough like. There we are. Try another little taste. Ooh. That does taste nice. All right, now, I'm going to set that aside for just a minute. Get rid of these little cards here. We don't need those no more. And I like to keep a nice, clean workplace. If you clean up as you go, then you don't have so much cleanup in the end. Now, you could do these, I suppose, in cupcakes or a 9x9 pan. I suppose you could probably even get a 9x13 out of this. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it into a bundt cake pan. And this is actually his Grammy's bundt cake pan that she just used for years and years, as in case you can't tell from that avocado green right there. She preferred the green over that harvest gold. Although she did have one set of chairs and a couch in the living room that did have that harvest gold. So I don't know, maybe it was avocado green in the kitchen and harvest gold in the living room. They did get themselves a nice new couch and set of chairs for a while after that, but we do remember that chair being there. All right, now I'm going to show you a little bit of a baking trick here. You can spray this with one of those oil sprays or Pam or whatnot, but I'm going to show you a little bit of a secret here. Now what I do is I go ahead and I take some Crisco or vegetable shortener. You want to just grab a glob of that. Now what I use is just a couple coffee filters folded over. I suppose you could use an old rag or something like that. Maybe a piece of plastic, but I like to use the coffee filters. So just get yourself a great big glob of that, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to get it all down there in those nooks and crannies. That's the one thing about a bundt cake. If you don't want this stuff to stick, you got to make sure to get everywhere on the inside there, all greased up nice. So don't be shy in using the Crisco or the vegetable shortener. I suppose you could use a vegetable oil if you, well, no, you know, that's just not going to come out the same way. So best that you stick to the vegetable shortener. And I suppose you could use some butter or maybe some margarine if you're in a pinch, but not the oil, come to think of it. Now you see, just that much, that big old glob, I went ahead and I've already used it and I've only done half the pan. So we'll grab another little bit there. Now you're thinking, I know all about this, Miss Rosemarie. What's the secret? Well, I'm coming to that in just a second. I'm going to show you how I get a nice, perfect crust on my baked goods. And this is how his Grammy used to do it, and she taught it to us, and now I'm taught it to you. So you can go on and teach it to somebody else if you like, or you can keep it your own secret, whatever you decide to do. All right, it looks like we got all those nooks and crannies all gussied up. Let's see if I missed any spots. You see anywhere I missed? Well, even if you do, I can't hear you anyways. All right. Set that to the side while I get the next part of our secret ingredient, and that's just simply, well, 2 parts actually, which is flour. I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to take ourselves a little bit of sugar and put that in there as well. Now you want to go ahead and you want to take and swirl those around. Now it's probably best if you do this over the sink or the trash can. That way you're not going to get, powder all over the place. But I've been doing this for a fair long time, so I can do it without making too much mess. As you can see, I already done made some right there just as I was talking. Isn't that always the way? You stop boasting on yourself, and then something comes right along and it decides to kick you right back down into your place. I don't know. Maybe that's just life's way of keeping us humble. Alright, now what that does is it coats the bottom of this and all those nice nooks and crannies with that flour and sugar mixture. And that's going to give us not only the release for the batter, but a nice crisp golden crust. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to tap the excess of this into the trash can, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got that all nice and powdered up now. Now we're going to go ahead and take our combination there, and we're just going to go ahead and put that right on into there. And now you see why I used a bundt cake, because it's got the capacity to hold all that batter. All right. Now this one self-levels out pretty well, but you might want to go ahead and just give it a quick tap, just in case there's any air bubbles in there. All right, now that we've got that all done and we got it in the pan, we're going to go ahead and put that in our preheated oven, and we're going to go ahead and put that in there right now. Put that in there on the center rack. And let's see, we're going to go ahead and bake that for about 1 hour, or until you put a butter knife or a toothpick or whatnot in the middle of it and it comes out clean. That's how you know that it's baked through. So roughly 1 hour at a 350-degree oven. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the frosting while that bakes. All right, so let's go ahead and get on into that. All right, now, when you blinked, or where before we changed views here, I went ahead and I went over to the sink and I, washed things up a little bit, because like I said, I like to clean as I go. If you clean as you go, you got less work for yourself to do when you're finally done. So, we're going to go ahead and do the frosting now that the cake is in the oven cooking. So, now, for the frosting, we are going to need 4 cups of powdered sugar here. Yeah, I know y'all are looking down my top. All right, there's the 4 cups. Yes, I know that does look like a lot of sugar. Well, it's frosting. Frosting has a lot of sugar in it. All right, so half of a cup or 1 stick softened butter or margarine. Put that in there. And the cream cheese, excuse me while I reach in front of you. Now these things always give me the fits trying to open them up. Never can get them. I guess that's what the good Lord gave us teeth for. Well, not. But who hasn't done that in a pinch? All right, let's get that turned out and into the bowl. Oh, goodness gracious, I can feel myself gaining weight already. Get in there, you. All right. And we need 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're going to go ahead and do the salt first, because that's a dry ingredient. And we don't want it to cake after we put the vanilla in there. Let's move this on down here to 1/4 teaspoon. There we go, there's the salt. And last but not least, the vanilla. And we need a full teaspoon of that. There we are. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mix that up, but I am not going to do this by hand. I'm sorry, y'all. But my hand's already tired, or my arm's already tired enough from that there carrot cake batter. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cheat and use our old friend the mixer here. So we're going to go into get rid of the loud noise. They're probably just going to, go ahead and mute the volume, or I don't know, maybe put a bit of music in there or something. We'll see exactly what they decide to do. All right, so let's move that on over here where y'all can see it better. And let's get it going. Maybe. Maybe not. Oh, dang it. I keep forgetting that about these betas. Come on, you. There we go. Done made a mess. See if we can get it to work this time. No. They are going to give me the what for. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to switch to plan B. Unplug that so that we're not causing ourselves any harm. Oh, I see what's happened. The bottom of it done broke. Well, I don't know if you can see that there, but that's our problem. Looks like the little pin that goes on the inside there done broke off, and that's caused this to shift around, and it's getting caught up on the other one. I'm gonna have to get a brand new set of beaters there. Oh well, in the trash can with these, I guess. Alright, well, it looks like we done did nothing but made a mess here, so let's go ahead and just move this out of the way, get this cleaned up real quick. Alright, off this goes. Well, to be honest, I'm kind of not surprised, given the age of that mixing machine, and also the fact that our wife's daughter, well, she liked to cook and she liked to bake, so she, let's just say she put it to heavy use, and I wasn't too terribly pleased about that. Burned out half the motor is what she did, and didn't bother to replace it. Well, we won't go any further into that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to turn to our good old friend standby. I prefer the bowl mixer, but well, when you need a hand mixer, and this one, as you can tell, is just about as old as the other one, but I don't think this one's going to line up on this. So let's go ahead and get these feeders in. That plugged in. Let's make sure it works this time. There we go. All right, I think we're ready now. Make sure you can see that. Yep. All righty, let's get this mixed up. I might want to slow that down a little bit. That's thickening up awful well. We're going to go ahead and unplug that. Always make sure to unplug your mixer when you're doing something like this, because the last thing you want is that thing kicking on when your fingers or something are in the way. So we'll get those out of there real quick. You can't smell it, but that's smelling good. Woo. Tasting good too. Nice and sweet. Alright, I'm going to give this a quick stir with the spatula, because we got most of it mixed up now. Yeah, I can do that by hand now. Ooh, that is tough on the arm though. Well, I suppose I've cheated enough. Goodness, that is a good stiff frosting. I'm almost half tempted to add just a little bit of milk to that, to add just a little bit, make it a little bit more runny, but like I was saying earlier, baking is a science. So I don't want to go messing around with it, because you can always put more in, but you can't take more out. Then the next thing you know, you're adding more flour, and you're adding this, and you're adding that, and you're adding the other damn thing. And you just got yourself a big old mess, where if you just left it alone to begin with, you wouldn't be having that problem. Now that looks right nice. We're going to go ahead and we're going to call that done. Look how thick that is. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take, and we're gonna set that to the side. And we're gonna go ahead and clean up this mess. So last thing you want is some sugar laying on your counter. Drawn ants all over the place, and the boy just got done fighting off a great big horde of ants. Of course, y'all know that anyway. Those critters were pernicious, I'll tell you. I never have liked ants much. I don't like flies either. All right, now that that's all nice and clean, we can put that right on back there. So there's our frosting. All right, well that gets done with our frosting, and we got the cake in the oven. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is, while we're waiting on that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna clean this mess up. So we'll be right back with you in about 45 minutes or so. Now, of course, for you, the time is gonna pass in the blink of an eye, but for me, well, I've got some work to do. So I'll see you after we're done with that, all right? All right, it's been about an hour, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna check on that carrot cake in the oven there. So we're gonna go ahead and open this up, and we're gonna check on it. Ooh, now look at that. Isn't that looking pretty? Now, how do we check if it's done? Well, I'm gonna show you. Now, what you wanna go ahead and do is get yourself a butter knife or a toothpick, maybe one of them long skewers. I like to use a butter knife. And you're just going to go ahead and take and stick that right down into the deepest part of the cake. Now I can tell just from looking at this and the way that it's firmed up that it's done. Now you see that? That's come out nice and clean. Just for fun, we're going to stick that in another part of the cake just to make sure. Yep, all nice and clean, so you know that it's done. If it wasn't, it would have batter all over that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn the oven off and pull that out. I grab another holder here. And that just does smell good. Look at that. There's our carrot cake. All right, I'm going to take this right on over to the counter. Well now, doesn't that look lovely? Now that the carrot cake is done and it's all nice and firmed up, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and let that set maybe for about 10 or 15 minutes to cool down just a little bit. So I'll tell you what, we're going to let that happen, and then we'll go ahead and we'll see you right back. And then we'll get on to frosting that carrot cake. All right? We'll see you in a minute. All right, it's been about 15 minutes or so. The cake's cooled down just about enough. Well, maybe not quite all the way, but you know, I like to turn it out a little bit early because sometimes when you cool it down, particularly with a bundt pan, it can stick a little bit. So we're going to get it while the getting's good. Now, while you were away, I went ahead and I just took this butter knife and I just kind of worked it around the edges just to make sure that we get a nice clean release, or at least I sure hope that we will. Now, the easiest way to do this is to do it on top of the plate or whatnot, but I always like to be fancy, so we're going to do it right here on top of this here cake plate. It's a lovely one, and again, this was his Grammy's, so we're keeping on with the tradition. So we're going to get this stuff out of the way here, and now hopefully, we're going to have a nice, easy time here, and it'll come out nice and beautiful. Otherwise, I'm going to have a cake all over my face. Well, maybe not all over my face, but all over the counter. We'll see exactly how it turns out. Hopefully the bacon gods will be with us today. Now the easiest way to do this is just to simply take the cake plate, put it right down over top, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take and we're going to flip this right upside down on top of the cake plate. That way you don't have to move it later for the frosting. Alright, now this is a bit of a tricky situation here, so you forgive me if I kind of jimmy this a little bit. Alright, now, hopefully, because there's no way, there's really nothing to get purchase on here. Oh, I just felt that release. It looks like the bacon gods are with us today. Alright, let me center that right up. Now comes the moment of truth. Here's where Rosemarie either does it or not. Ooh, look at that. Now you see, that's what I was talking about. You get that nice clean release, and you get that nice, beautiful crust. Isn't that just lovely? I'm glad that came out. All right, now, we'll go and put this over here for the wash. I don't know what I was worried about. That pan never did fail as Granny. Put the cooling rack right on back, and now we come to the fun part, which of course is going to be the frosting. Now, there's a couple different ways to do it, and this is also one of the reasons why I like to do this while it's still a little bit warm, because that's a very thick frosting, as we found out earlier on trying to beat that thing in. And we sure do have enough of it. I think I probably only would have made half if I'd known. But now I'm going to show you one more thing. Now just hang on and I'll be right back. Alright, now this right here is called a Lazy Susan. And it makes frosting things so much easier, particularly when you're dealing with cakes. Now I've got a rubber mat down on here to help things to keep from sliding around a little bit, but you see you can just get all sides of the cake there nice and easy. So, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our frosting here and we're going to frost up this here cake. Just grab a great big old hunk and you just apply that right to the top. Yeah, there's definitely too much frosting out of this recipe here. So you might want to consider cutting the amount of frosting in half, particularly if you're doing a bundt cake or some cupcakes like this. But if you like a sweet, rich frosting and you like a lot of it, well, then maybe you don't. You can keep that right there, and hell heck, if the leftovers, if it so inclines you, you can just eat it with a spoon right out of the bowl. I'm not recommending that you actually do that. But you certainly could if you wanted to. You could also die of diabetes about 5 minutes after you did it too, so. Alright. Now you don't have to be too particular with this type of thing. That's another reason why I chose carrot cake for this time around. Because, well, as the boy says, I like to get frosting things and decorative, and the next thing you know, what could be just a 45-minute video turns into an hour or 2 hours or maybe even 3. Nobody wants to sit here and watch me frost a cake all pretty like for 3 hours. I'm sure you'd like to just see the end of it, but for 3 hours frosting and me nitpicking this and nitpicking that, you know, that just doesn't make for a good bit of TV now, does it? Or video, sorry. I still tend to think of things in terms of TV. Now you may not be able to see it there on the camera, but this icing, and because of the warmth of the cake, is just starting to run just a little bit, which is going to give us a nice glaze right down the side. And I might just go ahead and cover this whole thing, since it's cooperating so nicely with me. And I'm just using my nice big spatula here. You could use a little one, like, let's see, where's it at? It's in here somewhere. There it is. This one right here, I like to use this for the flat top type of cakes, and around the sides it works just a heck of a lot better than a rubber spatula does, but we don't need it for the carrot cake. This will do just fine with a great big spatula. So we've done the top, now we're just going to kind of smear it along the sides. There you go, you can kind of see it starting to run now. There you go, see how that's running down the sides all nicely? Now this is why I didn't put milk in the frosting earlier on, because I knew that the warmth from the cake was going to make it run a little bit, so I was willing to put up with that stiffness and make my arm ache rather than mess around with the recipe like I was talking about. And like I said, we're just going to go ahead and cover this. I ain't looking for pretty this time around. We're just going to go ahead and use up as much of this here frosting as we can, and well, everybody else will either eat it or they won't. I guarantee you they'll eat it. They like the sweets here in the household. And I'll tell you what, this is going to taste real nice with that cup of coffee that I got for myself when y'all were away. It's going to escape. That is good. Sweet and creamy and cheesy, but in a good kind of way, not like a cheddar cheese or anything like that. Alright, we are almost done here. Yes, hello, Mr. Tom. Your mama's home, you know. Now, No, cats don't eat carrot cake. Well, you may think you do, but you ain't none. Meow. There we go. What? Cats don't eat carrot cake. You're probably after the frosting, aren't you? Here. Want to try a little bit? I thought so. He's liking the frosting. Is that good? Yeah, I thought you might like that. That's the cats for you. You never do know what they're gonna eat. All right, well, that's it, all frosted up. Now what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're just gonna let that cool down. All right, that is looking real nice. Now, we're gonna rush things a little bit, but we're gonna go ahead and cut that up, put some on a plate for y'all so you can see it. And I'm gonna cheat here. Use my little cake knife. Put that right down into there. Right down into there. It's going to be a little bit messy because it's still warm. I should let it cool down, but I'm too anxious. I want to taste this and show y'all what it looks like. I'm going to get it right underneath there. Lift that right on out. Ooh, now look at that. And there you have it. That's your carrot cake. Nice and warm, straight from the oven. All ready to eat with a nice cup of coffee. Well, all right, y'all. That's all there is to it. There's your carrot cake. I hope that yours turns out just as nicely as this one here did. And thank y'all for watching. We do appreciate it. It's good to see y'all again. Now, I'm probably not going to be back before the holidays because Mr. Percival's knocking on the door. He wants one of those there little stories episodes for the little ones. Well, I can't argue with that. The precious things do need some comfort, and it does bring them so much. But we'd like to thank you, as always, for watching. Thank you for coming to visit me, and thank you for trying out the recipe with me. I hope that you all enjoy it just as much as I do. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a taste of that right now. That is good. All right, now, that's all I got. But before we go, I'd like to remind you all of one thing. And that is, as always, that you are loved, that you are strong, and that you are not alone. I'm Rosemarie, y'all. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye now. I'm going to go back to this cake.